Thank you. You don't have any doubt that only one side did the shooting and the killing and the shelling and so on of these people, correct?
Saeed, I have seen reports I have seen different reports with respect to that very question.
Right.
We don't know, as I said earlier, the ground truth of what happened, which is why we think it's appropriate that investigation be conducted.
So you think that there were other people shooting Palestinians?
Saeed, I said I have seen
Then-
reports that other people were shooting. I don't know the veracity of any of those reports, which is why we're seeking more information.
And you expect to get any results from these investigations, these reports? Will you
do.
come back to us next week and tell us this is?
I can't promise you next week because I don't know how long an investigation will take, but hold on, certainly when an investigation is completed and we're briefed on that investigation, I'm happy to come brief you on that.
On the principle of it, why is it so difficult for this government to say we condemn the killing of children, Palestinian women and children? Why can't you say the word condemn?
Saeed, if you listen to what I said a moment ago,
No,
hold on,
carefully.
Saeed, please don't interrupt me.
Yeah.
I said far too many
Right.
Palestinians have died. Thousands of Palestinian children have died, and it is a tragedy when one of them dies. Of course, we don't want to see a single child die. We don't want to see anyone die as a result of this conflict, which is why we have been working to bring this conflict to a close as soon as possible. But whenever you ask me these questions, I do think you continue to kind of just elide over the fact that Hamas bears a great deal of responsibility for putting those children in harm's way. Remember, it was Hamas that launched this war in the first place with an attack on Israel that killed men, women, and children, and that Hamas that hid and continues to hide behind children as human shields. So yes, we do not want to see any child die. We don't want to see any innocent civilian die, which is why we are working so hard to try to achieve a temporary ceasefire that would alleviate their suffering.
Yet I have not heard the word condemn. I mean, this war began way before October 7. I mean, in fact, the reason that this administration was so strong on, pursuing a Middle East peace and so on, because the war had been going on for decades before and so on. We heard this administration when they came into office talking about reopening the consulate, talking about reopening the PLO office here, talking about restarting and reigniting peace talks and so on, re-aiding UNRWA and so on, simply because that war has been going on for a very long time. Because Gaza was under siege for a very, very long time.
Saeed, nothing that happened before October 7th justifies what Hamas did on that day. And it is what Hamas did on that day that led to the outbreak of this war and led to the suffering of so many innocent Palestinians. And I just feel it's important to correct that fact.
Fine. I mean, you guys said this many times before, but in fact, Israel has been waging war on Gaza for a very, very long time. Let me ask you on the aid issue, on the trucks and the trailers and so on. Is there anyone other than Israel that is holding the aid from going in?
It is not a question of aid going in. That's not the problem right now, Saeed. The problem is that when aid gets in, there's a distribution problem inside Gaza right now because there are police officers, some of whom are members of Hamas, who have been providing the security for those for that distribution inside Gaza. And what Israel says is that they have a legitimate right to go after members of Hamas. So we would obviously prefer to see members of a security force inside Gaza who are not Hamas members, but that's not where we are today. So it is a situation that we continue to try to work through.
So this is really the classic catch-22 kind of situation because Hamas governed Gaza for a very long time. All the police, all the many of the security forces and so on. Unless you supply Gaza with police and other staff people, whatever, who are from Egypt, from anywhere, to distribute these things, it's going to be the same people to distribute it.
As I said, it is
so this is really, you're saying, okay, you can't, it's a catch-22 situation.
I don't think you're listening to what I said. What I said is we believe the way to ultimately solve this problem is to try to get a temporary ceasefire that would get hostages out and alleviate this problem and make it possible for aid to move around and get food in people's mouths so they're not so hungry and they're not so desperate that they're swarming the convoys that do come in.
Last question. One last question. Do you suspect that Mr. Netanyahu perhaps authorized this raid to scuttle the negotiation?
There is no evidence of that I have seen, Saeed. Go ahead.